Hi there, my name's Vince and welcome to episode 4 of the YouTube Fixers. So in this episode today we have 4 different fixes crammed into the half-an-hour episodes. So kick back, relax and I hope you enjoy. Now if you haven't seen this series yet, it showcases different YouTubers from all around the world fixing things. Some are amateurs, some are professionals. Hopefully it will be entertaining to watch. Hopefully a bit of knowledge might be shared and gained along the way. So to start with, we've got Tony from PghGameFix, and in this episode he's going to be fixing up a Sega Genesis which doesn't power on. In the UK we know it as a Sega Mega Drive. So let's get straight into it because we've got a lot to cover in this one here. So Tony, take it away.
Hi Vince, thanks for having me on today. On the bench, we have a Sega Genesis that was sent over by one of the local game stores, and I was simply told it wouldn't power on, but sometimes that means it doesn't read games. So there's a few things that could be wrong with it. Could be simple, could be a little more complex, but let's go over the bench and see what we can find. Okay, on the bench this morning, we have a Sega Genesis, one of the version 1s, not the super early one, but one of the early ones. It came to us today because it said it had no power. So I have it hooked up over on the composite side, and as we can see, there's no signal, there's no light either. So we're probably looking at a power issue of some sort, switch, or maybe even the regulator. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this apart, and I'll be right back. All right, we got this guy apart, pulled everything out, sucked up a little dust, but as you can see here, we found some rust up front. So we're gonna have to address that. It may not be bad because it's not the whole way through the tins. It may just be up on the ground plane, but we'll check that. All right, there's a few things we can check. This guy's full of, they're ferrites, but they have been known to crack or have problems. Power switches on these have been known to have issues, and of course our power jack itself can have issues. So first things first, let's just go ahead and take a quick look and see if we have any power. And we do. We have 9.63. Coming onto the back of our jack. And I already see a problem, a potential problem. 2 volts, 6 volts. All right. So this may be our problem all by itself. It looks like maybe a bad factory solder joint, or these are old systems. Maybe somebody was in here and changed the jack. But as you can see, it almost looks like, yeah, it's loose. Let's just go ahead and solder that guy up. There we go. It looks much better. See what we got now. There's our 9 volts. Come down to the board, check there. 9 volts. And we'll check behind the switch. Actually, we'll check the switch for continuity. Okay, so our switch is good. We have voltage. And I guess the last thing we should check before we attempt a quick test is make sure our voltage regulators are working. These should be 7805s, so we should be getting 5 volts off of them. Which we are. We got 5 volts there, and before I short something out, I should put on the glasses. 4.9. Okay. They're both reading voltage. All right, well, we might have found a quick one, but let's go ahead and just clean up some of this rust. There's no issues down around our joystick ports, none of our components, none of the traces. This is all just old flux. It's an old stamp. All right, well, this might be a quick one today. Let's get some cords back up. Give our test cartridge a quick clean. And get us back over to our composite input. Well, it looks like today's fix was pretty simple. Anyway, we should probably finish cleaning up the rust on that tin, and I'll button this back up off camera. But I think the shop that sent it over will be happy to have it back. Thanks for having me on the channel, Vince. Back to you.
Thank you, Tony. A nice fix, and that's proof there that not every single fix has to be a complete and utter nightmare. Sometimes if you've just got a screwdriver set and a soldering iron, you can work wonders. Now, from America back to the UK again. The next YouTuber we have up is Adam from Norfolk Man Cave. Now, some of you might remember that name if you're a subscriber to me, because he's the one that sent over this lovely reel-to-reel player that was featured on my channel a few weeks ago. Now, in this episode today, Adam's going to be working on a strimmer, you know, the things that you cut grass with, and he's working on the carburetor off the strimmer. Now, if you're interested in any of the channels that you see in this episode today, then check down in the description. They will all be linked there, and they'll be linked at the end of this video as well. So head over there and subscribe if you see something that you like. Right, let's go over to Adam.
Well, thank you, Vince. And does this sound familiar to any of you guys? Well, if so, if you have a problem with anything with a small engine, whether it be 2-stroke, 4-stroke, these are normally 2-stroke, whether it be a hedge cutter, bush cutter, strimmer, if you've got this problem where it's bogging down, you try to start it, it's hard to start, and then when you get it running, it bogs down, it'll only go on half choke. It could be one of 2 or 3 things. It could either be a bad spark plug, a blocked exhaust, or the carburetor needs attention. Now I'm going to show you the most common problem which has happened to this one, and it's the diaphragm in the carburetor. This is a little John Deere XT140 strimmer, and I have had the diaphragm out because I needed to get the part number off it to get a replacement. The replacement's here, but I did put it back together for the purposes of the video. So we're going to have this to bits and replace the diaphragm and see if it goes. So we have a new carb kit here, and the diaphragm we need is this bit there with the disc on. So I will show you how to fit that. Alright, first things first, we need to get the air cleaner off, which is just a Phillips screwdriver. I think the whole carb come off of this with a Phillips, to be honest. There we are, we have 2 Phillips screws in there. Disconnect our throttle linkage. There we go, and our carb, there we are, our carb is off. So we just want to take the petrol pipes off. Yeah, there we go. And there's our carb. So the diaphragm we need to change is in here. So we need our screwdriver again. There. Our diaphragm lives in there. There's your needle and seat. There's a little tiny needle and seat there. I can see they're working, so I ain't got to worry about them. And the rest of the carb, I'm not going to put the whole kit in because the rest of the carb is fine. We're just going to take out this little rubber diaphragm. There we go. There she is. And that just plop on this way. See, that little diaphragm just goes over there. That little knob on the back there pushes in there. So when that sits on there, that pushes down onto that needle and seat. So now we just basically do the opposite. We just reassemble now. We have the carb built back up, the diaphragm's in, so we now connect our fuel lines on these 2, remembering which one's for which. Now I remember the black one went up to the bottom, and this one came in this side, and then we can bolt him back on. Quite simple. So put our little air filter cover back on. She's on. Now we've got to put the throttle cable back on. Let me see if I can get this round here to show you these throttle cables. So you've got this little barrel on here which you've got to get through. So you've got to hold your throttle basically open. So if we hold the throttle half open, drop the cable in and let it out, let's see. Oops, tell you what we haven't done. You spotted already, haven't you? I haven't. Come on, get out there again. There you go. We haven't put the cable through the holder. There we go. So, we should see now, this thing should hopefully start. So, now we've got the diaphragm in, will she start? Switch on, throttle on, give it a couple of primes. We've got fuel coming up the pipes, which is a good sign. Choke on. First time. Choke off. Haha, there you go. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much, Vince, and I hope you've enjoyed this fix. If you do have one of these little 2-stroke machines that does have the problem, remember this one started out where it would run, but it would bog down, it wouldn't rev very well, and then the last time I went to use it, it wouldn't start at all, it wouldn't even pump fuel up. If you've got that problem with a 2-stroke machine, whether it be a chainsaw, strimmer, bush cutter, hedge trimmer, whatever, the likelihood is it's going to be that little diaphragm we've just replaced. So there you go, and Vince, back to you.
Thanks for that, Adam. Always nice to see a mechanical fix for a change. Now, next up, you have the pleasure of my company trying to fix up this little Google Nest Mini. Let's get straight into it. So here we have a Google Nest Mini 2nd generation, and as you can see here it says mic switched off permanently, and that is exactly what's happening. I got this from eBay for £5 UK, so very cheap. let me just plug it in. And I'm just going to fast forward through until it's fully booted up. So you can hear that the audio's working, it's booting up fine.
To get started, download the Google Home app on a phone or tablet. By the way, the mic's off. To turn it back on, slide the switch on the back of this device.
Okay, so it thinks the mic's off, but look, it's not. It's on. And if we turn it off, you can see it goes to red. It's still red here. Turn it on, and it's still red here. So it doesn't matter that when it does that white, it's just me touching it here. But look, if I lay it down flat here, it doesn't matter whether I turn it on or off. It stays red. So it is unusable because you want to use it as an assistant to ask it questions. So let's take it apart and see if we can find out what's going on with it. I'm wondering if it's just an issue with the actual switch itself. Now to take it off, we just need to get rid of this little rubber cover at the back here. And under here and all the other screws will be Torx 6. Now with this one here, all you have to do is turn it clockwise a fraction of an inch, you know, just a few millimeters, like that. And then that will ease off here. And here we have a ribbon cable. So let's undo the ribbon cable and let's check out the switch, which is down here. Let me just undo these screws here and then we can test the switch. So we've got 3 contacts. So I'm going to put my multimeter to continuity so it beeps when the wires touch together. Right, so they're all going off. And now they're not. So it must be, would it be these 2 here? Yeah, or these 2. Right, annoyingly the switch is fine. Right, so that's the ground, so it's this one here which is doing the switching. Yeah. So it's switching it to ground. Right, so that's going to be going up to there, this outer one. Right, that's coming up on the second pin on that side there. The second pin nearest the switch. Right, let's take it apart further so we can get to the other side of this ribbon cable. And then we can test there. Again, Torx 6, and we've got 4 screws holding the speaker in. Okay, and I'm just going to unplug it from here. So this is the speaker here, nice and big. And we have 4 screws here and just a tiny little screw here, so keep this one separate. Let's see now if we have continuity between the pins here and the pins here. 1 second now. This goes in it that way round, so this side is the second pin here. Let's see if we've got anything on the second pin. So I'm just going to go between pin 1 and pin 2. No, we haven't. We haven't got anything there. Right, let's take out the ribbon cable. Oh, it looks a bit mangled. There's weird things going on in the middle here. They're broken. There, look, they're broken. You can see here and here they're broken. Can you see them lifting up? There, oh, careful. There you go. And there. So what's happened here is, look, this is a manufacturing defect. These have been left too long. They've got bunched up because these should all be perfectly flat and then they would be overhanging this by a millimeter or so. But it looks like they were bunched up and then cut. And then I suppose these ones are still making contact, but with these ones here, the bits that's bent up has broken. And then this has just come completely loose from that bit there. So you can see where the little marks are here. These marks here are where the actual teeth from the connector grip onto. So you see, if they gripped on up here, there wouldn't have been a problem, but they're gripping on here, not up here, and there's no continuity there. So I'm thinking just I'm just gonna put solder. I'm gonna solder each of these. I'm gonna try to flatten these middle ones off a little bit. Well, I don't know if that's going to help or not. I am going to add some flux to that and then solder it up. Well, I've damaged these. Now what am I going to do? Yeah, I had it too hot. Well, I don't think there's any coming back from that. So what I'm going to have to do is, let's peel off this blue thing at the back, because this just gives it a bit of strength where it goes into the connector. And let's cut this and then try to scrape back onto some new contacts. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a fiberglass pen and I'm just going to scrape all along here. Right, bit by bit you can see now that the white plastic has been worn away, and can you see the copper starting to come back through on the inside? I'm just going to rest it on the tweezers because it's harder than the mat. That's really coming along nicely now, I'm nearly there. Yeah, that's fine, that's all back to copper now. Yeah, move along, yeah, move along, move along, move along. To the very edge, yeah. Right, let's get this back together. There we go, all back together. Let's plug it in and see if it works. Fingers crossed.
Hi, to get started, download the Google Home app on a phone or tablet. The microphone is back on.
Yes, the microphone is back on. Now let's turn it off.
The mic's off.
Thank you.
The microphone is back on.
Thank you very much. There we go. It's working.
The mic's off. The microphone is back on.
Oh, I could
The
listen
mic's
to
off.
that for the next 30 minutes.
The microphone is back on.
So there we have it, and I went through the whole episode not saying okay or hey Google. Oops. So next up we have Todd from Ellensburg Amplifier Repair and Service. Now, Todd knows his stuff when it comes to amplifiers. He does this for a living and his videos are very, very detailed. And he's been kind enough to join us today in a car amplifier repair. So here we have Todd doing what Todd does.
Thank you, Vince. It's a pleasure to be here today. So what I have is a Class D automotive amplifier, small, compact, about as big as my hand. So it fits very well in your vehicle. If you want to add some depth to the sound of your audio system in your car, this is a good way to go, as long as they're ran within specifications of the unit. So this does have a failure. What we're going to do today is we are going to hunt down this failure. We're going to trace it down and see what we can come up with. Pretty simple Class D design here. You have your power supply and your output section. And again, you can always tell a Class D amplifier by the output inductor right here. This is the drive circuit for the output stage. So I'm just going to test resistance across all the transistors on the unit and make sure I don't have any shorts, which is not looking like I do. Looks like we're doing pretty good on the transistors for the output, so I'm not seeing an output failure. I'm just going to flip it over to do the power supply test here. And drain and source is open, so there's no shorts there. Which is good, Excellent, so that's looking good. So I'm just going to hook up my power wires real quick here and see what the board is doing. So we'll pay attention to the LEDs. So I do get a red LED, and there's the green power LED, which will cycle on and off a few times before
the power supply drive circuit decides to shut it down. So there is a problem on the output. So what I'll do is I will switch over to the camera here that's going to give us a nice good shot of what we're doing here to test these transistors. So 1.2K, so what I'm doing is I'm looking for any shorts. 1.2K. $14K, 8K. 280 ohms. So this should be anywhere from 1.4K to 14K. And I have 280 ohms, 300 ohms. Here we go. 300 ohms one way and 300 ohms the other way. So this transistor right here is shorted, which you will find that transistor is right here. So we're going to go ahead and remove this transistor and replace that transistor, and let's see how that transistor tests. Okay, so I have removed that transistor, which that transistor is an MPSA 92 transistor, and let's go ahead and run a test on it real quick and see if my meter was true in what I was seeing. So here's the MPSA 92 transistor and the meter. Let's see if we can get a good reading on this transistor for you. And as you can see, the HFE, all the currents, the voltage are at 0, and you can see it showing a diode in between the collector and emitter. So keep that in mind, and let's pop in a new MPSA 92, and we'll show you the difference. So this is what we're looking for when we're doing repair on amplifiers. This one doesn't show that diode between the collector and emitter, and you actually have your HFE of 127, your voltage base to emitter, and your current. So this MPSA that came out is faulty. So let me get the new one in. We'll be right back with you. All right, I got that new transistor soldered in place, and do a quick resistance check on this just to make sure I don't have any more shorts. And I don't. So let's go ahead and put some power to this and see what our LEDs do now. Red light, green light, the red light turns off. So it does look like the output section is functional once again. Get a signal into this. And get our oscilloscope set up. And let's see what we have on the scope in the upper left-hand corner there. And as you can see, there it is. My generator set at 70 Hertz, and you see on the scope there's 71 Hertz. So this amplifier is repaired and good to go back into a vehicle. Again, thank you, Vince, for having me here. It's always a pleasure. We'll catch you on the next one.
Thank you so much, Todd. You did an amazing job there fault finding to pinpoint a faulty transistor when there's so many components on the board. So now that wraps up this episode 4 very nicely. I hope you enjoyed this one here. I hope you like the fact that we got 4 fixes in the half an hour as opposed to the normal 3. If you did like it, subscribe. If you like what you've seen in this video here, subscribe to the other channels as well. And I will see you hopefully next week for episode 5. Until then, take care.